Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Just one small item, then on to today's subject. The small item has to do with what I was talking about for the past two vlogs, the idea of Donald Trump forming a third party. I had said in the one before today that Trump really doesn't owe the Republican Party anything, the way he's been treated by them lately. And as an example, look at this video from Mitch McConnell speaking today.
The last time the Senate convened, we had just reclaimed the Capitol from violent criminals who tried to stop Congress from doing our duty. The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president and other powerful people.
Welcome back, and what you just saw from now he's the minority leader of the Senate. What you just heard from him, saw and heard, just further proves what I was saying yesterday, that Trump doesn't really owe the Republican Party anything anymore. I understand that McConnell is, well, I don't think he ever really cared for Trump in the first place or to support him. I think he's an establishment Republican, and he was, what Trump is, a monkey wrench thrown into the works. He got along with him because Trump was good at appointing judges, but McConnell was nowhere to be found in the Georgia election. Instead, he blames, my understanding is that he blames Trump for the loss of those two runoff elections because Trump was claiming that there was fraud in the election or that it was stolen, that the Georgia election wasn't fair, which is a belief that I hold, by the way, unless somebody is willing to investigate it. You can prove me wrong by investigating. Otherwise, that's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. But Trafalgar, one of the most accurate pollsters in the last election and in previous elections, did a poll of the Georgia voters and asked them what their rationale was, especially for the Republican voters, why they did not turn out to vote for Donald Trump. It was a $2,000 stimulus check. They wanted the $2,000 stimulus checks. They believed that if the Republicans kept the Senate, they would not get those $2,000 checks, and if the Democrats won the Senate, that they would get those checks. That's what the main reason was, and we have to remember that it was the Senate, the Republican-controlled Senate, that was holding off on providing those checks. I said I could see in principle that the checks should not have gone out, but if you care about controlling the Senate, then the checks should have gone out. The checks should have gone out, and if they didn't go out and it costs you two runoff elections, well, you don't blame the president, because Trump was he was urging Congress to pass that legislation. It was a Congress that didn't come through, and now they want to blame Trump for it. So getting back to what I just said a minute ago, the way Trump has been treated, he really does not owe the Republican Party anything. What he does owe, or whom he does owe, is all of his supporters, the tens of millions of people who supported him. He should give them a voice, create a party that puts them into a separate block so the Republicans and the Democrats can see how many there are, and by putting them together in one block and having one person, whether it be Donald Trump or somebody else, the leader of the new party, to give them a voice, to speak for them. So again, I think there should be a third party. So that's a little item that I want to get out of the way. Now we're on to today's subject. Today's subject is about the upcoming impeachment trial, it looks like, or maybe not, of Donald Trump. The House, of course, voted to impeach Trump. They have not delivered articles of impeachment as of noon, or 1 second after noon tomorrow. I'm recording this on Tuesday. You're going to be seeing it on Wednesday, Inauguration Day. Trump would no longer be president, so they would be delivering articles of impeachment for a private citizen, somebody who cannot be removed from office because they are not in office. And let me just digress a little bit on just one point, because we have a corrupt media that does not report accurately and buries news. And here's one piece of news they buried, because the purpose of this impeachment and the trial that they hope to hold, which it's more likely now because the Democrats now, with the vote of Kamala Harris to break a 50-50 tie, they control the Senate. But we have to remember, so I'm going to remind you, because the media did not report it, that impeachment was not the first option. The first option was resignation. Nancy Pelosi said, Donald Trump, President Trump, either you resign or we will impeach. Now, if he had resigned, what does that mean? That means he can run again, for sure, because he resigned. So the House the Democrats were open to that suggestion. Now they're saying that they want to disqualify him for running again. On what basis? What changed? What happened? There's no logic behind it except to punish Donald Trump for not resigning. That's the only explanation I can come up with, and it's a very poor explanation. But getting back to this possible trial now, here's a headline from Dershowitz, Allan Dershowitz, professor emeritus of Harvard University. Well, we all know who Allan Dershowitz is. I've quoted him in the past, but here's a headline. Dershowitz, the Senate cannot legally put citizen Trump on trial. Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Allan, and that's right, I mispronounced emeritus a moment ago, forgive me. Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Allan Dershowitz said that the Senate does not have the authority to convict President Trump for articles of impeachment after the end of his term in office. Quote, if you can impeach anyone who is not a sitting president, there are no limits to the power of the Congress to try ordinary citizens, unquote, Dershowitz said. Quote, it is plainly unconstitutional, unquote. And, well, it obviously is. That's why I don't know why the country is to be subjected to this exercise, and perhaps it won't, because as I said, the articles of impeachment have not been delivered, or I should say article of impeachment, because they only have one article that the House is submitting, if they ever do. But it's the accusation that Donald Trump, when he said, I expect people to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard, that he was inciting a riot when he said that. So good luck with that. But the House has not submitted the articles of impeachment, so perhaps they never will, and this whole issue will die because of, as I said a moment ago, we have a craven, corrupt press that maybe will bury the news or just not report anymore. We'll just let people forget that there ever were articles of impeachment, or not make an issue, not ask Nancy Pelosi when are the articles coming. And I would suspect that you're not going to get a lot of questions from the Senate saying, from Chuck Schumer, the new majority leader, hopefully for only 2 years. I don't think you're going to hear him calling very loudly to send the articles over. I could be wrong on that. We'll see what happens. But as Dershowitz said, the whole idea of impeaching him is unconstitutional. Now, that gets us to, here's another item. This just came out today. John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts, does not want to preside over Trump impeachment trial. Chief Justice John Roberts is eager to avoid presiding over Donald Trump's second impeachment trial after he became a lightning rod during the first one. The Constitution states that, quote, when the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, unquote. But with the Senate having been in recess since the House voted to impeach, the trial will occur when Trump is no longer in office, potentially giving Roberts an out. That would put Kamala Harris as next in line to preside over the trial in her constitutional role as the Senate's presiding officer. Well, two problems there, Mr. Article Writer. First of all, what gives Robert his out is not that Trump is out, that he's not the president anymore, that he is a private citizen. It's that, as Dershowitz said, because he is out, because he is a private citizen now, it would be unconstitutional to try him. So that's really all that Roberts could say, because as the Constitution says, it's very specific that the Chief Justice shall preside. If he refuses to do it, I don't know what the alternative is, except either don't hold the trial or impeach John Roberts for violating the Constitution, violating his constitutional duty, unless John Roberts says, backed up by the Supreme Court, if the Senate is stupid enough to go to the Supreme Court over it, that he can't preside, is not going to preside because the trial itself is unconstitutional, which gets to the second point, putting Kamala Harris in charge or letting her preside over the trial. Well, that's not in the Constitution. There's nothing in the Constitution about the vice president coming as next in line. There's nothing in the Constitution about the Vice President of the United States presiding over a trial of a private citizen. There's nothing in the Constitution about that. It's very specific and says only that one thing, that the Chief Justice shall provide, which gets me to I spoke about Dershowitz, who is a liberal. He happily admits he's a liberal. He didn't say, I don't think, but I'm sure he voted for Biden. But he puts the Constitution ahead of his party. Well, there is another liberal lawyer who is of the same ilk, Jonathan Turley. We've all heard of Jonathan Turley, I'm sure. He's on TV all the time. He has a really great blog, too, by the way, that you should subscribe to, get his daily emails. They are really, really excellent reading. He makes a lot of good points, and they're all very principled points. It's what I'm getting to. So here is advice from Jonathan Turley to Donald Trump. And here's what he's saying. He's saying, well, here's the headline. Jonathan Turley, Trump impeachment trial, why his best defense may be no defense. On its face, the planned impeachment trial is at odds with the language of the Constitution, which expressly states that removal of a president is the primary purpose of such a trial. At the time, Trump will be neither a president nor in office. He will be a citizen and would be best served legally to forego the trial entirely as extra-constitutional and invalid. By declining to appear, the Senate would be faced with the glaring problem of holding a trial of a citizen to decide under Article 1, Section 4, whether he, quote, shall be removed from office, unquote, after he already left office. This is not an individual, but an institutional issue to be raised before any trial. Each senator must decide whether such a trial is constitutional before deciding whether an accused can be retroactively removed for a high crime and misdemeanor. There are good faith arguments for the constitutional authority to render judgment on such acts and to impose the future disqualification from federal office. However, under this theory, any prior president could be barred from running again by the shifting balance of Congress. Impeachments can thus be used to even long-standing scores or curry favor with some voters, unquote. If the Senate proceeds to a trial despite a lack of constitutional authority, Trump can sit in Mar-a-Lago and promise to challenge any effort to disqualify him from future office. Indeed, the political miscalculation may be greater than the constitutional miscalculation. Well, yeah, because you're going to fire up 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump and just make them angry for no reason, for just trying to get back at him, just to get even with him, which, as Turley points out, a future Republican Congress can use to get back at any Democratic president who served only one term. Well, for instance, Jimmy Carter. What did Jimmy Carter do that was impeachable? Well, nothing I can think of, but if your goal is to even scores, you don't need something. Just make something up. Abuse of power, which is what they used against Trump in the first impeachment. Getting back to Turley, a trial with an empty defense table would magnify the view of many that this is an improper or at minimum unnecessary exercise. Moreover, if a court were to later declare the trial unconstitutional, it would be seen as a vindication of Trump, who has long maintained that the Washington establishment has been using any means to keep him from office. If an effort to bar his candidacy in 2024 were to fail in the courts, it could resuscitate his standing, which is currently at an all-time low. Well, I would dispute that because I didn't look at it today, but I looked at yesterday's approval rating of Donald Trump, 48% approval rating the day before he leaves office. So I don't see how he has been hurt so much. But also, if Trump is so bad, and if Biden is going to be such a great president, why are they worried about him running again? If he runs again, he would just lose, right? Either that, or they are kind of admitting that they stole the election, that Biden, if we don't have these mass mailings of ballots, because we should be, I hope, over with the coronavirus crisis 4 years from now, if Biden is this great president who's going to deliver us from this crisis, then of course there won't be a coronavirus crisis 4 years from now, and then no justification for the mass mailing of ballots. And my prediction is if you can't mass mail these millions of ballots, then Biden or whoever the Democratic candidate is in 2024 will lose, and would lose to Donald Trump. That is what they are afraid of. They are afraid of Trump running again, even though they apparently weren't, at least in the House, just a few weeks ago when they gave, well, not even a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, when they gave him the option of resigning. Now they are saying that they want to keep him from running again. So I'm predicting a very interesting 4 years. This is what I'm going to be watching, because I'm not going to be paying attention at all to Joe Biden, who already has his first crisis of this caravan. If you read about it, several thousand potentially illegal immigrants traipsing their way through. Well, they're in Guatemala right now, and the Guatemalan authorities are trying to stop them. The Mexican authorities, the president of Mexico, Obrador, said definitely they're not going to get through Mexico. So we'll see how that works out. But it's because Biden has said that for the first 100 days of his administration, nobody's going to be deported. So one of the marchers in this caravan was interviewed. I saw him on TV, and he said, Biden's giving us 100 days. We have 100 days to get into the United States, and then we won't be deported. That's what he has created, Joe Biden. That's how incompetent this administration apparently is. I think this is just the beginning. But before he even takes the oath of office, he's already created a crisis for himself. Well, I don't look forward to additional crises. I'm just unfortunately saying that I anticipate some. I don't see how the way his party is treating not just Donald Trump, but all these people who voted for him, including me, and trying to get us off the internet, among other things. I don't see how he brings the country together. He's supposed to unify the country. So let's see how that works out. I'm not expecting anything. I guess I'll be saying, President Biden, how's that uniting the country stuff working out for you? I guess we're all going to find out. What I'd like to find out right now is if I can get a thumbs up if you like this video, and share it with anybody you think would also like it. Got any comments? Comment section below the video where you can put questions, suggestions for future topics. You could also subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You can visit my music channel. There's a link in the description where I put my great original songs, which only get better with each succeeding song. Just put up a new one, and I have well, I guess it's not a new one anymore because I have one that I'm going to put up pretty soon. That'll be the new one. But I recently put one up, and what's left except to say that I really appreciate the time that you all spend with me, and I hope you all come back. I look forward to seeing all of you, and until I do see you all, bye.